Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about dot plots, frequency tables, and histograms. Alright, so first let's talk about a dot plot. So we're going to discuss how to read this. So this graph is showing the number of books that students read this summer. So the way that we read this is, you can see here 0. So if we're talking about how many students read 0 books, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So this means 4 students read 0 books this summer. 1 student read 1 book. 4 students read 2 books. As you can see here above 3, there are no dots. So that means there are no students that read 3 books, and so forth. So that's how you would read this table, well, rather graph. And we're going to actually answer some questions regarding this particular graph. All right, so if you look here, we've still got the same graph about the number of books students read this summer, but it's asking us different questions. So it's asking us to figure out the mean of this data, the median, the mode, and the range. So the first thing we need to do is list out these numbers in order from least to greatest. Let's go ahead and do it now, because we're going to have to find the median and the mode. So to do that, we already have to order it. So remember what we said is this first column means that 4 students read 0 books. So we need to do 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1 student read 1 book. 4 students read 2 books. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to keep going. There were no 3 books. 2 students read 4. I'm going to have to start writing underneath. 3 students read 5. 1, 2, 3. 2 students read 6 books. 1 student read 7, and then 1 student read 9, and that's it. So first we need to find the mean. So remember, to find the mean, you need to add all of these numbers up and divide by how many numbers there are. So we're going to be looking for the sum first. So if you add all of those numbers up, go ahead and do that in your calculator. You should get 60. And then 60 divided by how many numbers are in the data set? Well, there are 18 total numbers and 18 dots on that dot plot. So 60 divided by 18 is going to give you 3.3. And that is repeating, but we're just going to write 3.3, which is the mean of our data. Now for the median, that's the number in the middle. So I'm going to start from the outside and work my way in. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8. All right, so we should end up with these 2 numbers in the middle, 2 and 4. So we need to add these 2 numbers together, 2 plus 4, which is 6. And we're going to do 6 divided by 2, which is 3. And if you think about it, 3 is perfectly in the middle of 2 and 4, so the median is 3. The mode, that's the number that occurs the most. It's probably going to be easiest to look back at your table for this, or dot plot. So you can see we had 4 students that read 0 books and also 4 students that read 2 books. So that is going to be our mode, both of those numbers, which is 0, comma, or you can put and, 0 and 2. And then lastly is our range. Remember, to find our range, we take our largest number, which is 9. We're going to subtract it from our smallest number, which is 0. 9 minus 0 gives us 9, so our range here is 9. Okay, this next slide here is asking a different set of questions. It's still the same table. We're still looking at the number of books students read this summer. It says how many students read exactly 6 books. So if we look here at our graph, 2 students read 6 books. Oops. 2. Because there are 2 dots on the dot plot. What fraction read 0 books? So to do this, we are going to put how many students read 0 books out of the total number of students that read books. So if we look, how many read 0? Well, that was 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 read 0 out of the total amount of students that read books. So the 4 that were 0, and then let's keep counting our dots. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, which we already established there was 18 on the first slide when we did our mean. So 4 over 18 would be the fraction of students that read 0 books, but we do need to simplify it. So we got to look at 4 and 18 and find our greatest common factor. And our greatest common factor between the two would be 2. We can divide 4 by 2, and we can divide 8 by 2. And when we do that, we will get our final answer, which is 2/9. So 2/9 would be the fraction of students that read 0 books. The next one, what fraction read more than 2 books? So if we look at all of our numbers that are more than 2, that would be 3 or more. So we're going to count the number of students that read more than 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's 9 students out of the total 18 that read books. Again, we need to simplify, divide by the greatest common factor, which here is 9. So we're going to divide by 9, which gives us 1/2. So half of the students read more than 2 books. All right, this next part's asking, still the same graph, we're looking at the same graph here. What percent of the students read 2 books? So we're talking about now a percent of the students. So to do this, we need to look at how many students read 2 books. So if we look, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 4 out of our total of 18 students that read books. Now we are finding a percentage. Remember, percents are always out of 100. So our percent is unknown right now out of 100. We're going to set up a proportion here. So if you remember back to how to solve a proportion, we're going to multiply our diagonal and divide by what's left. So we're going to multiply 4 times 100, which is 400. And then we'll take our 400 and we'll divide by the number that's left, which is 18. And 400 divided by 18 is going to give you 22.22222 repeating, but we're just going to do 22%. So that means 22% of the students read 2 books this summer. The next one's asking about 5 or more books. So we need to look at 5 or more. So count your 5s, 1, 2, 3, and everything more. 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 students out of 18 students equals x over 100, because we're looking for a percentage here. When you multiply 7 times 100, you would get 700, and then 700 divided by 18 is going to give you 38.8888 repeating, but we're going to round up to 39%. So 39% of the students read more than 5 books. And for the last one here, what percent of students read less than 4 books? So we need to count less than 4, so not including 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's going to be 9 out of our 18 equals x over 100. Cross multiply and divide, so 9 times 100 is 900, and then 900 divided by 18 is going to give you 50. So 50% of the students read less than 4 books. Okay, next we're going to talk about histograms. So a histogram, this is what it looks like over here to the right. As you can tell, we have a graph that looks just like a bar graph, but the numbers are squished together. As you can tell down at the bottom, there's a range of numbers. So they're saying this is 0 to 1, or 0 to 2 is your first data point, and there were 4 things that fell under the 0 to 2 category. 3 to 5 is the next bar here, and that had a number, it had 6 things that fell under that category. 6 to 8 had 2, and then 9 to 11 had 10. So that's how you would read it. The bars, as you can see, they must touch in a histogram, and then you always want to make sure that you're labeling your x and your y axis when you are looking at any graph, and give it a title as well. So how a histogram typically works, this is just a general statement. There's usually a set of data that's here. This is talking about cappuccinos made per hour, so how many cappuccinos were made per hour. You usually have a frequency table, and a frequency table tells you how many fall under that category. So if you look, how many numbers fall between 0 and 3? If you actually count the numbers between 0 and 3, 1, 2, only 2. So they tallied twice, and they wrote that the frequency was 2. How many numbers were between 4 and 7? 1, 2, 3. So they tallied, you can see, 3 times. And the frequency, they just wrote the number 3. For 8 to 10, or 8 to 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can see they tallied 8 times, and then they wrote the frequency as 8. So you would keep going. Now, once you make your frequency table, then you make your histogram. So we will have more practice actually doing this whole process. This is just generally how a histogram works, so that when you're looking at the information and answering questions, you know what you're looking at. As you can see here too, they talked about they labeled this the number of occurrences, the number of cappuccinos made. So 0 to 3 matches the 0 to 3 here, and they went up to 2 because it happened twice. For 4 to 7, they went up to the 3 mark because there were 3, and so forth. Okay, so now we can answer some questions about a histogram. Okay, so first they want to know what is the title of the x-axis. So remember we said the x-axis was the one that's horizontal. So the title is pulse rates. They then asked for what's the label of the y-axis, so y to the sky. They called that one frequency. How many patients had a pulse rate between 80 and 89? So if we look, 80 and 89 is right here. So we're going to go up and see how many. And if you look, it actually looks like that's going to be right between 4 and 6, which would be 5. So 5 people had a pulse rate of 80 to 89. Next, it says, what range of pulse rates was the most common among the patients? So you're going to look and see which one has the tallest column here, which is going to be this one here that went up to, it looks like 7, and that would be between 90 and 99. So that's the range of pulse rates that had the most amount of people in it. It says how many more patients had a pulse rate between 100 and 109 than between 60 and 69. So 100 and 109, that is going to be this column here, which if we look, looks like it hits 4 perfectly. So we're looking at 4 versus how many were 60 to 69? That's this one here, which looks like it hits 1. So we're comparing 4 and 1, and really they want to know the difference between the two because they're saying how many more, and that answer would be 3 more. You would subtract 1 and 4. The next one says how many patients had a pulse rate of 97. So if we look, 97 is between 90 and 99. However, we don't know how many people actually fall in that category because that's a range. It's any number that was between 90 and 99. So we can't answer this. We're going to have to say not enough information. Just from what they gave us, we have no clue how many fell under that category. And then lastly, how many patients had a pulse rate of no more than 99? So that means it's any pulse rate all the way up to 99 and can also include 99. So we're going to look at all of the bar graphs that are this way, or the bars for the histogram. So if we look, 60 to 69, that was 1, right? 70 to 79, that was 3. 80 to 89, that was between 4 and 6, which is 5. And then 90 to 99, that's going to be 7. So we need to add 7, 5, 3, and 9 to figure out how many were no more than 99. And that would be 16 patients. All right, guys, I want you to try this one and then come back to the video to check your answers. All right, go ahead and check your answers for these. The only thing that was a little tricky was number 4 got cut off, so it was asking for 50 to 59, which was 8, and 20 to 29, which was 2, so you would subtract those to get 6. All right, go ahead and keep practicing. Let us know if you have questions.